Hi everybody. Welcome to my first Let's Play. Now, you're not going to see a lot of me during the course of this Let's Play, but as it's my first one and it's the beginning of the series, I thought I'd spend just a few minutes to talk to you, let you know what's going on, a little bit about the, So, I've never done one of these before. So, I'm going to try my best. We're going to try and do it right. But if it's not that great, cut me a little bit of slack. Meet me halfway here. I'm trying something new. For a long time, it's been on record, my favorite game is Earthbound. There's no denial. But my favorite game series has always been the Gabriel Knight series. And so when I got the idea to try and do my own Let's Play, there really wasn't another choice. I want to do the Gabriel Knight series, all three games. We'll see how it goes. We're going to start with the first one, obviously. And we'll see how it goes before I go to the other two. I love Gabriel Knight. I love the character. I love the story. The writing is some of the best writing you're ever going to find in one of these adventure games. And I grew up on adventure games. I love them. And I think the first game is possibly one of the best adventure games that was made. The series is not without its problems. The second one has some atrocious acting and all the flaws of an FMV. And the third one... I think the third one should have just been a book. I gotta be honest. The third one is hard to play. And it's a little difficult to enjoy. But if we get that far, we're doing it. Now, I'm not going to be doing my usual thing where I'm just relentlessly tearing into it, because I love the Gabriel Knight series. I may make a joke or two at its expense. We'll see what happens. I'm going to also cheat around just a little bit, because I know the first game, especially the first couple chapters. So I may do some stuff that I don't have to do to make it easier for later, and I may take a couple of shortcuts just to compress the runtime. But I'm going to try and make sure that you, the viewing audience, get all the important information so that the story does kind of make sense, so that you can understand what I'm talking about when I talk about how well written it is. Now, I'm not going to let you guys see every single dialogue option. Alright, the game would go on forever. So I will skip through some of the dialogue that I know isn't important, but I will try to leave the dialogue that is important. I'm going to leave the voice acting on, because it's Tim Curry as Gabriel Knight. It's Mark Hamill as his best friend, Detective Mosley. Michael Dorn is in there. Leah Remini, who's the chick from King of Queens, the guy who plays Leon Vance in NCIS. I mean, there's a lot of actors in here that you'd recognize. So I'm going to leave the voice acting on. I'm going to turn the narrator's voice acting off, though, and because she irritates the daylights out of me. I'll give you a few pieces just so you see what I'm talking about, but you're going to thank me in the long run. Anyway, that's about it. Let's go ahead and get started. The first game is divided into chapters, and I'm going to try and just use those chapters as natural ending points. So, you don't know what you're getting in for. I don't know what I'm getting into. Let's see what happens. This is Mad Centaur Productions' Let's Play of Gabriel Knight, Sins of the Father. Oh, you guys have no idea. It feels like half the good memories of my childhood involve that logo and that opening sound. I was a Sierra kid, absolutely. There's our nice, moody opening. I'm going to go ahead and not play the intro, and I'll tell you why. The intro is primarily a dream sequence that Gabriel has, nightmares, and you're going to see them 4 or 5 times throughout the game. It's the dream sequence, and then he sits up in bed shocked. You've seen the intro now, because you're going to see it plenty of times. So we're just going to go ahead and play. I will say this about the game. The worst part about Gabriel Knight 1 now is it didn't age well graphically. I'm not going to read the poem to you. It's there. You can read it. It didn't age well graphically. The people kind of look like indistinct blobs. But that's really the only complaint I've got about this game.
Mm-hmm. I bet. Just a minute.
I'm going to go ahead and turn on the subtitles here. And I'll leave the narrator voice on for now.
It lives, I see. Do you want to speak with... Lolita? I'm sorry, but Gabriel is out. Oh, I mean, he's out. Yeah, if he ever comes back, I'll tell him. You know, you could do better. I know I don't know you, but you could do better. Good morning. The phone's been ringing off the hook all morning. Let me know when you want your messages.
Yeah.
Gee, you're lively. Did you have another nightmare last night?
Sort of.
Mm-hmm. I told you it's that voodoo book you're researching. That stuff can seriously screw up your karma.
I'm sure that's it. Maybe I should write a horror novel on passive resistance instead.
So don't sleep. It's your body. Anyway, your handheld tape recorder came today.
Really? Great.
I can't wait to see what human rights you violate with this one.
I can't wait to violate them. For example, if you would just let me...
And I located some local voodoo references for you. Dixieland Drugstore and the Historical Museum of Voodoo. Both are right here in French Quarter.
How would I ever manage without you?
You? Give me a break. The devil himself couldn't change you.
Well, if the devil had great legs, perhaps, like yours.
And a riveting personality, I'm sure. Well, if you need any more research done, just ask. It's not as though we're swamped with customers.
Alright, so a little bit of backstory, because the game doesn't give you backstory. This was back in the days when you actually had to read the manual. Gabriel Knight, our fellow here, voiced by Tim Curry, is a very unsuccessful horror writer who owns this rare bookshop in the middle of New Orleans' French Quarter. Most of the game takes place in New Orleans. And a lot of the places that you visit, and this is true throughout the Gabriel Knight games, are real places. Now, this bookstore doesn't actually exist, but I've been around New Orleans, and I've gone to a lot of places from the game. It's pretty interesting. Anyway, I'm going to show you why I'm leaving the narrator's voice off. Here is our narrator.
Times Picayune, dated June 18, 1993. The front page has an article about the voodoo murders. The article says...
And it keeps going like that. Basically, there's a bunch of murderers. The voodoo murders are people from out of town getting their hearts cut out.
For the day.
And since Gabriel is writing a new horror book based on voodoo, he's researching it. He wants to learn more about voodoo because he's hoping that maybe if he writes a book about voodoo, while the voodoo murders are going on, somebody will actually buy one of his books.
Right.
Anyway, you've seen why I'm going to go ahead and just turn the narrator onto text, because she takes an hour and a half to say anything. It's extremely irritating. Now it's time for the first rule of adventure games. Pick up stuff. Let's pick up these very, very well-defined tweezers, shall we?
I'm going to take the tweezers for a bit.
Good. You're beginning to look a little scruffy.
Just trying to make you feel at home.
And this magnifying glass.
Mind if I borrow the magnifying glass?
No, Sherlock. Just bring it back when we get the next estate shipment.
No problem.
Now, I'm not going to get maximum points this time around because I'm trying to find a balance between entertaining you guys and communicating the story, and that means speeding through some stuff. For example, what I'm about to do here is something I don't need to do till the next chapter. Oh, look, the mistake. It's a joke. See, it's funny. And I'm going to take...
I trust you can live without
gift
this old
certificates.
gift certificate.
Knock yourself out.
Now, there's a lot of fun little cute things in this game, and I'll do the ones that I can remember off the top of my head, like operating the ladder in the bookstore. Gives us a deeper look into our hero's psyche.
If you try to look down my shirt one more time, I'm leaving.
Hell, just trying to refresh my memory.
I know what you're trying to refresh, and it isn't your memory. Get down.
See, no points for that, but it's just, there's our character. There's books up there that I can open and read to get clues and everything, but I know them, so I'm going to spare you that time too. Pick up Gabriel Knight's hair gel. And that's pretty much all that's back here. I can turn on the radio if you want to listen to news or whatever, but I don't.
Got a minute, Grace?
What's up?
Time to get the messages. I think the way their mouths move is a little freaky, to be honest.
Do you have messages for me?
Dana called, and Susie left a message about a lawsuit.
Toss 'em.
Okie dokie. There's more when you want 'em.
There's a reason we're establishing very hard, very early, that Gabriel Knight is a womanizer. In fact, you'll find out at the end of this chapter why.
Do you have more messages for me?
Your grandmother called.
I keep meaning to get over there. What did she say? Did she sound good?
She sounded great, and we had a nice little chat about you.
Grace.
Don't worry. I didn't go into detail about your cardinal sins. Not that anything about you could surprise her. She adores you anyway.
She's my girl.
But she said to remind you to stop by and go through your father's things.
Okay. Do you have more messages for me?
Here's a strange one. You got a call from someone named Wolfgang Ritter? He said he was calling from Germany. He told me it was urgent, maybe you should give him a call.
Call Germany? Like hell. If it's really important, he'll call back.
Well, fine. Let's just hope he's not with the German lottery for pitiful American authors.
Okay, now's when I'm going to start skipping through some dialogue here.
I didn't know much of anything about... Now I know that it's it can clearly...
She doesn't know much about voodoo. She doesn't think he should do the voodoo... research the voodoo murders.
What can you tell me?
Well,
he's the native to New Orleans. Grace is a research assistant. Is basically her job.
What do you...
And you know what? We don't need to know anything about her. Right now, I can't request research on anything. The chapter ends when I request research on a particular topic with her. She mentioned going to my grandmother's house, which I'm going to go ahead and do in this chapter. It's another thing you don't have to do until later. Anyway.
I'll be back later.
Don't hurry back on my account.
Black leather trench coat, check. Let's go to... Where's the easiest place to go? I'm gonna go to the... Okay, I'm sorry, I messed up. I gotta get news about the police station first.
Really?
Yeah, I thought I was gone too, but I screwed up.
Got a minute?
You have to ask about all your messages.
Your friend Detective Mosley called. Talkative, isn't he?
Especially with you. What do you want?
He left an interesting message. He told me to tell you that his mother's maiden name is Humphrey. Oh, that's Humphrey.
Fascinating.
You know, I've played this game a dozen times. I still have no idea the point of that line of dialogue about his mother's maiden name.
Gabriel, those photos wouldn't have anything to do with the voodoo murders, would they?
Now, why would you say something like that?
Because I know you. You're getting privileged information, aren't you? Did you tell him you'd put him in your new voodoo book?
A writer has certain obligation to his readers, you know.
Gabriel, you know you'll never put him in your book. Your main character is a female orthodontist. You're gonna be reincarnated as a pit bull if you keep screwing with your karma.
As long as it's a male pit bull with a really big...
That's enough. Thanks.
I know.
Anyway,
Gabriel does not come across as a very likable character. He's a sleazy, womanizing bastard. I got it. But in the hands of a good writer, that just means there's lots of room for growth. And that's what we get out of him. Anyway, I've now unlocked the police station. Now I really am leaving. Look at the cutting-edge graphics. Hell yeah. Alright, I am going to start skipping through a little bit of dialogue here.
Got a second, officer?
What can I do you for?
there's two things I need to do here. I need to find out Detective Mosley is not here.
Detective Mosley.
He's out at a crime scene. Sorry.
Where is the crime scene? Is it related to the voodoo murders?
Crime scene information is police confidential. We don't need any more looky-loos than are probably already there.
And he's absolutely not going to give me more information
I was
than
supposed
that.
to pick up some photos from Detective Mosley at the front desk.
Is that right? And who are you?
My name is Knight. Gabriel Knight.
Yeah. I got something for you, all right. Soon as you're done talking.
What can
Me?
You know, it'd be really... None of this is important.
What can you...
It'd be really nice, like, they could have just said, what's the password, and then he could have said Humphreys. Because I have no idea what the point of the Humphreys thing is. I never have.
Here's that envelope for you, Gabriel Knight.
Yes, because that's the kind of name a person makes up. Alright, so in the middle of the police station, I'm going to open up this envelope. And look! Confidential privileged police information. Good thing I'm looking at it in front of the other cops. And then there's a cop of Mosley, back when he had hair. I may occasionally call him Mostly while I'm playing. It's something Gabriel calls him a lot, and it's kind of just stuck in my head. So if I do say that, it's not as big a mistake as you might think. Now, the Voodoo Museum is where Michael Dorn is, but he's not there on day one. So I'm going to go over here, which is another one of those things I don't need to do on day one, but I'm going to anyway.
Hi.
Now, this
Mind if I
guy's
ask you a
just
few
shady
questions?
and dodgy.
Ask what you want, I'll answer what I want.
Can you tell me what you know about voodoo?
This is a novelty shop, monsieur.
And that's his story,
What
and
do you
he's
know
sticking
about
to it.
the voodoo murders.
Cabri Sancour.
What did you say?
Nothing, nothing. Those killings have nothing to do with my shop, monsieur.
And see, that was important, because now it's giving me the new dialogue option. The blue dialogue is stuff I can ask everybody. The colored stuff is specifically for that character. So he unlocked something for everybody.
What did you mean when you said Cabri Sancour?
I didn't say that.
You did. I heard you say it.
You heard wrong, monsieur. I said no such thing.
And that's it. That's all we're getting out of this guy. He's not going to tell us anything else. The only other thing of note in the store is for a later chapter. You get a free bottle of Lover Come Back to Me oil or Master Gamblin' oil with every purchase over $50.
Yep. My French is lousy, but everyone in New Orleans knows what that means. A little something extra.
So all I gotta do is purchase something over $50. Only there's my inventory screen. I've got a gift certificate. So we'll come back here another day. The Napoleon House is a bar. I'll visit that one later. I need to go to Jackson Square, but first I'm going to take a detour to Grandmother Knight's house. This is something I don't need to do till later chapters, but the first chapter is particularly short, so I'm going to go ahead and do it here. This is where you get some of the family history of the Knight clan, which seems innocent enough now, but later on is crucial to the plot.
Sorry it's been a while, Grandma.
Not at all. Give us a kiss. Now come and sit down. Tell me how you're doing.
I'm going to talk to her a little bit.
Can we talk, Gran?
Of course, my boy. How can I help?
She gave us the tiniest
Do you have
hint
any
about...
idea what Cabri Sancour means?
Something without something, I think. My French is so rusty. I swear my mind is going.
It's okay, thanks. What can you tell me about St.
Yeah, this'll help.
Eve?
St. John's Eve? I remember when I was a girl, we always had a St. John's Eve Mass. The Mass was said at midnight, and we held candles. One time on the way home, we were waylaid by a large group of drunken revelers. They didn't hurt us, but I was frightened. My father was furious. We never went to St. John's Eve Mass after that.
St. John's Eve, I picked up when I looked at that sign, so it's a big religious holiday. That's all that matters. I am going to do a little bit of this Knight family history. The only reason the grandmother exists is to learn a little bit about the family history, and then you never really see her again.
Who would you like to hear about? Your granddad, your father, or your mother?
The father's side, the males are the only ones that really matter.
Tell me something about Granddad.
Your granddad immigrated to America when he was 21. He worked his way through school, met and married me, and we had your father, Philip.
Tell me something about Granddad.
Your granddad supported me and your father with bookkeeping. I'll tell you what, though, he hated every minute of it. Maybe that was why he had the worst luck with jobs. The nights he'd come home afraid to tell me he'd lost another. And I would tell him. It didn't matter to me. But he felt ashamed, Gabriel.
You get the impression that all of Gabriel's paternal side were lady killers. They were all quite the charmer.
Harrison was only 36 when he died. Your father was 8 years old at the time. Your granddad was hit by a streetcar in the business district. Took me nearly a year to believe he was really gone.
I'm sorry, Gran.
I know you are, dear.
Alright, so my grandfather died young, while my father was just a kid.
Father.
Your father was my only child. How we adored him. Philip suffered from terrible nightmares, just like your granddad did. They were 2 peas in a pod.
Terrible nightmares like Gabriel is suffering.
My father.
When Philip met your mother, it was love at first sight. They were married 2 weeks later. Never looked at a girl seriously until then. And he looked at plenty. You have your father's way with women, Gabriel. And your granddad's.
If you dig more into the family history, basically, the grandfather and the father, they were all womanizers until they met that one woman, and then that was it. They are now a one-woman man, instantaneous, almost magical.
Tell me about my father.
I wanted to just lay down and die when he and your mother were killed in that car crash when you were only 8. It was the thought of taking care of you that kept me going, Gabriel. The police say your father swerved off the road after being frightened by something. Perhaps a deer in the road or a wild cat.
So, when my father was 8, his father died. When I was 8, my father died. That doesn't sound good. Now, I'm going to speed through the rest of these family things, but you've heard the stuff that mattered.
Tell me.
I needed to unlock the cemetery for later.
Oh.
No, I don't need to know about Grandma. Alright, there's one other thing I'm going to talk to her about, but first I'm going to go up into the attic.
I'm going to go up to the attic, Gran.
Be careful of the dust.
I think I'd take Daddy's sketchbook with me.
Let's go ahead and take a look at Daddy's sketchbook. Right here is the part that matters. See these 3 snakes? There's a lot of allusions to 3 snakes. Also, this double circle here is going to be important later on. But it's as you play the game, you keep seeing allusions to 3 snakes and 3 dragons, and that explains why I do what I'm about to do. Because this is skipping ahead just a little bit, but I know. So the first thing I'm going to do is use this push icon. if I can, you know, click on it. And I'm going to put the dragon up there at the top so that it's facing down. Then I set the clock to 3. 3 dragons, 3 snakes, whatever. Whoops. I don't want to take the clock. I want to operate it. Thank you. The game is a little complex in its use of commands. As you can see, there's a lot of them. I want it to say 3 o'clock. That's weird. There it is.
Granddaddy,
Turn the
you old
handle,
fox.
pop open the hidden drawer. A picture and a letter. These things will matter later. The letter is addressed to Heinz Ritter. It's written in German from a place called Schloss Ritter in Rittersberg, West Germany. So Ritter. Sohn Heinz, signed Wilhelm, sorry. And one of the recurring words strewn throughout the letter is the word Schattenjäger. Sense of urgency. Alright. So the last thing we're going to do with Grandma is we're going to go ask her what a Schattenjäger is, because we've now unlocked that word. And I know I'm going fast and I'm cheating a bit, but it's kind of a long game, and I want to spare you guys the boring. I don't think any of it's particularly boring, but just watching it probably could be.
Of course, my boy. How can I help?
Have you ever heard of a Schattenjäger?
Schattenjäger? Schattenjäger. How odd, Gabriel. I haven't heard that word in years. My goodness, you've given me a chill. Your granddad used to say that sometimes in his sleep.
Really? Do you know what it means?
No, I'm afraid not. I asked him about it once. I don't think he answered me. Odd.
Thanks, Gran.
And that is the end of Gabriel Knight's grandmother, I believe. A kindly old
Gran,
woman.
I better get going.
All right, dear.
Who was darn lucky not to be killed early. Alright, we're actually getting towards the end of the first chapter here. There's St. Louis Cemetery number 1. I've actually been to that cemetery. It's where Marie Laveau, the Voodoo Queen, was buried. Her tomb is there in the game and there in real life. We're going to head to Jackson Square, which is the next to last place we have to visit in the first chapter. And you can go everywhere, and you can explore everything. It's a very immersive game. By the standards of the time, compared to things like Oblivion and Skyrim, not much. But it does occasionally have puzzles like this. First of all, you'll notice the music is when the Saints come marching in. That's a song that shows up in every Gabriel Knight game at one point or another.
Why, you nasty thing, you. I'll call the police, I will.
Alright, we've got a mime up there irritating passersby. We got a motorcycle cop here. A very unfriendly motorcycle cop.
Could I ask you a few questions?
Not now, buddy. I'm busy.
I should have noticed that. Thanks.
Anyone seen Joe?
Hey, he's got a police radio. If I could listen in, I could find out where the crime scene is, where my buddy is.
Mind if I use your radio?
What are you, nuts? Forget it.
Touchy.
Coroner requests assistance at the
And that's what's hard about this first game is sometimes, in fact, all of these games, sometimes the puzzles aren't very clearly laid out. Like, I don't know for a fact that in order to beat this first day, I need to find Detective Mosley. They don't make it that big a deal. Like, my buddy says, you know, come meet me at the police station. I go there, he's not there. Well, the thing you're really supposed to do is track him down.
Stop picking on me. I'll tell my dad.
But if I go to the Voodoo Museum, Michael Dorn isn't there, and they're like, hey, he'll be here tomorrow. So how do I know it's not the same kind of thing? So it's little things like that. Anyway, so I need to distract the cop. So I'm going to have this mime follow me for a little bit. Keep him away from any other people. And since he likes to mock people, who better to mock than a police officer?
Hey, cut that out.
If he starts flinging poo, I'm so out of here.
Stop that.
Because most people see cops and think monkey. He wasn't.
Right, mister.
I guess you couldn't
want
mime a
some of
pig
this?
very well in this game. Oh my gosh, look at that. The cop left. What were the odds? Gabriel picks up the handset and listens.
Ambulance 911 has
we don't have the
located
narrator.
crime scene. They've radioed for you 3 times.
Damn! Did you say it was north of the Lake Retreat Country Club?
South. Lakeside Drive north of Piedmont Pier, south of the country club.
Man, I don't know if it's the clouds out here today or what. Good thing this guy's already dead.
Professionalism.
Everyone's having trouble. Must have been hallucinogens in the coffee this morning.
It's just so misty out here or something. Hey, I see a squad car. Got it, Molly.
Thank God. Have a good one, 9-1.
Interesting.
Stupid mime. Hey, you! Get away from that bike.
Sorry.
Boy, that mime took a long time to chase off, didn't he? Alright, so we found the crime scene that, you know, up until this point, you don't know for sure you're looking for. Like I said, the games aren't without small problems, but let's go to the crime scene, shall we? And I swear to you, the voice actor for the detective is, in fact, Luke Skywalker, Mark Hamill. He just doesn't sound anything like it. Walk all over the evidence.
Hey, mostly. Huh? Knight, you wiener, I told you not to call me that. Feeling jumpy? Who, me? Don't be stupid. How'd you find me? Oh, I was just driving by. Well, for the book. But don't tell anyone I let you see this, huh?
Professionalism! I need a friend who's a detective who can show me top secret information.
Same ammo and no frickin' clues. We're still waiting on an ID for the body. That's disgusting. Isn't this a rather, public area for this kind of thing? Yeah, they're frickin' ghosts, these guys. Lakeshore Drive isn't exactly the 10 expressway, but it is open to the public. No reports and nothing. Now, who the hell is that?
I do like these little cutscenes. And look at that. This is why we hammered the womanizing so early on, and the idea of once in love
Good
for
day,
good.
Miss Getty.
What's going on, officer?
Detective Mosley, ma'am. We've got a little problem here, but nothing for you to be concerned about, Miss Getty.
I see. Thank you, Detective. And good day, gentlemen.
Whoa, I'm in love. Forget it. That's Molly Getty. She's about as far out of your reach as the moon. Probably on her way to meet some guy with a yacht right now. Near here? The lake's a popular place for country clubs. If she's out here a lot, maybe she saw something or heard something. Man, nobody ever sees or hears nothing. I told you. Besides, you just don't go around bothering people like her.
We've about wrapped
Walking
it up,
all
sir.
over the evidence.
It's another clean sweep.
Yeah, let's get the meat wagon moving then.
Do you want to leave an officer here, sir?
Nah, just leave the tape up for a few days.
Yes, sir. If you'll excuse us, sir, we'll take him away.
That way we don't have to take it down and redraw the scene if the player revisits it.
Stick around and take notes for the book if you want. Watch out for the muck in the water moccasins, though. I'll be back at the station. Stop by if you want to go over the case some more.
Thanks.
Yeah, the audio balance there is ridiculous. The stretcher just overwhelms any dialogue. Alright, another one of those, something I'm going to need later on.
Clay? Yuck.
Even later on when you need the clay, I don't know how you're supposed to remember that it's here, because it doesn't even look like anything worth clicking on over here. But there it is, clay deposits. There's a section of a pattern here. Luckily, I got Granddaddy's sketchbook.
Let me try to get this down.
And now I have a section of the pattern. Now, the first chapter is pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. There's only one thing you need to do to beat this chapter. You look over here, where the grass is matted. You use the tweezers to pick up the scale.
I think it's a snake scale, but it beats the hell out of me what kind.
And you go back and you tell Grace to research snakes. That's the end of the first chapter, which we'll do in a second. I'm going to save the game, though. My name is not Princess. My roommate was playing the game a little bit. That would be my name. Princess is the girl who's staying with me right now, so that's why her name's on there. Alright. Now let's go talk to Grace Nakamura. Who, by the way, I think does know Kung Fu. Just to complete the stereotype.
Hey, Grace. Here I am.
Oh, joy.
It's a real love-hate relationship. Actually, it's lust consternation, actually seems to be the true nature. This icon, I don't think I'll ever actually use. This is to question somebody. This is just to say something to them. I'll show you.
What's new, Grace?
Your use of mathematics, for one thing. These books are unbelievable.
What can I say? I refuse to be bound by rules.
The strap marks on your bedpost speak otherwise.
So, basically, this icon just stands for have the characters chat. This is, questioning them is the only way you're going to get important stuff. Let's just let them chat. And then over here, this is in the first 2 games. I can't remember if it's in the 3rd. But Gabriel Knight has a tape recorder. Where it basically remembers every conversation you have with somebody. Everything you ask them, there it is. It's actually more important in the second game than this one.
Hey, kids.
Bruno.
How nice. I forgot about this guy.
Gee, a customer.
Of yours? Hardly.
How's the flower business?
Well, better than the used book business, I see.
Rare books.
That explains why I so rarely see anyone in here. Are you going to sell me that wonderful painting of yours today?
I need the money for later on. I didn't think he'd show up on the first day. Usually he shows up in the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. This is the first time I think I've seen him this early on. I'm supposed to tell him to screw off at first, I think, but I know I need the money eventually, so...
Gabriel, don't you dare sell your father's painting.
Well,
I guess I don't need the money that badly.
From the looks of this shop, I'm sure you will, my boy. And soon.
Wow, the game won't let me skip ahead on that. That's neat. Yeah, Grace gets ticked off when you do finally sell your father's painting.
Got a minute, Grace?
What's up?
Do you know anything about
Hey, we've
snakes?
unlocked snakes.
Doing a family tree, Gabriel?
Very funny. I mean real snakes. You know, scaly, cold-blooded. I would have thought you'd find them empathetic.
Mm-hmm. I know very little about reptiles of any kind and prefer to keep it that way. I think there's a book on snakes around here somewhere, though.
Okay, thanks.
I was wrong. You
Could you
don't
do
ask
some
her to
research
research
for me?
snakes. You ask her to research
Sure, yeah.
Malia Getty. You have to find the snake scale, and then she has to research Malia Getty. Those are the two things that happen in
Could you see what
day
you can
one.
find out about a woman named Malia Getty?
The name Getty sounds familiar. What's your interest in her?
Oh, just, you know, stuff about the voodoo murders. If you could get an address...
Mm-hmm. They're murders. Right. I'll see what I can find out. Anything else?
The way their mouths move in conversation, I think it's the teeth in particular that I just find kind of creepy.
Okay. Well, it's about closing time.
So it is. Good night, Gracie.
Most of the chapters don't automatically
Gabriel.
close like this. The
And,
first
try not to
chapter
dream,
is
okay?
really just to kind of get your feet wet, introduction to the game. Things get harder, and they definitely get longer. But before we go, I'll show you guys the dream sequence that he has during the night, which was basically the intro. Just take this dream sequence and imagine him sitting up in fright, and that's the intro of the game that I skipped. Of course, it's going to look really tiny, because when this game came out, screens were lower resolution. This is actually the cover of the first game. It's Gabriel Knight hanging. And anyway, so that's the end of day one of Gabriel Knight's Sins of the Fathers. We'll catch up next time on day 2. So, thank you for stopping by.